Should we clone Neanderthals? This and much more on the Neon Mudslide. Welcome to the Neon Mudslide. My name's Johann Cooper, and this episode is brought to you by Muddy Tech, the company that has made this podcast possible. Now, before I introduce my guest, I would like to say a little bit about what the Neon Mudslide is. For a school project called the CSI Project, I decided to make a year-long podcast. This will be coming out hopefully every week on Wednesday with a new guest every week. And other examples of CSI projects were building a go-kart, composing some music, and other stuff like that. You just had to produce something over a year. And now, without further ado, let me introduce my guest, Mattias Cooper, my very own brother.
Hello. Hi.
Mattias is in 10th grade in high school, a sophomore.
I frankly don't think they care about that.
Okay, fine. We're not talking about Mattias. And so, let's start off by talking a little bit about CSI projects. Mattias, for his CSI project when he was my age...
No, we don't have to talk about that. That was a failure. First of all, I have a very bad reputation with the CSI project, and so do most people in my grade, because we were the first grade to do it. So we had no examples ahead of us, and, I mean, at the end of the 7th grade school year, the teachers that run this project pretty much just brought us together in the auditorium and said, here's another thing you can do next year. So we weren't really excited about that. I'd say maybe 60% of kids blew it off until last week. Not trying to say that that's what you should do, but I'm just giving you an idea of my experience with the CSI project.
So, would you say this project is good or bad?
Well, I'm right now in the sophomore project, which is what this is supposed to be setting you up for, and personally, I don't like the idea that the CSI project conveyed that you have to build something or produce some sort of product, because I know in high school I have friends that are putting on an event. You know, last year there was two 5K races that were put on by friends of mine. I have a friend this year that's doing mosaic, another friend that's doing a sculpture. Personally, myself, I'm teaching myself something. So you have a far wider range of topics you can do, and it's very different. And so I would not, if you have a bad experience with CSI, I would not be worried about the 10th grade project just yet, because they're very different.
So I'm learning from your past experiences and apparently everyone else in the sophomore year that I am hopefully going to make this podcast enjoyable for everyone, and I will look back at it as a positive thing.
Hopefully.
So, to our main topic, would you like to say a little background information on its Neanderthal cloning?
Well, Neanderthals were I don't want to say, they were a type of,
human being.
They were like humans. They were
prehistoric times.
Yeah, they were prehistoric times. Let me look up. They weren't exactly.
Do we consider them Homo sapiens?
I don't believe so. They are.
I know their skulls are shaped more like monkey things.
Wikipedia, they're Homo neanderthalensis.
To me, that doesn't sound.
We are
doesn't
Homo
make
sapiens, and so the genus is the same, and so that's like having a bee, different types of bees. They're both in the Apis or Apis genus, and so genuses tend to be able to interbreed, but their offspring may not be fertile.
So Neanderthals are basically
They're like
older, less experienced version of us, stupider, if I may call.
Well, they're not exactly the same. They have a far wider rib cage, a far bigger skull. A very flat skull. They were tended to be stronger, but they were close to us, and people believe that Homo sapiens and Homo neanderthalis lived together, and one species had to be dominant. Turned out we were the dominant ones, and we wiped out the Neanderthals. So what they have now found, or they have found plenty of Neanderthal bones. In fact, there's a museum in Düsseldorf, Germany, that our grandfather has helped produce. That has it's just the Neanderthal Museum, and that's where they first found Neanderthals, was in the valley close. It's called Wuppertal.
So for all our viewers here who are trying to, who don't necessarily have a computer in front of them so they can look up these Neanderthals, can we basically, I guess, for all you people, think of them as cavemen, maybe?
Kind of.
A little bit more advanced than cavemen.
Anyways, we have plenty of bones from the Neanderthals, and now it is certain people from Harvard have said that it would be very possible for us to clone them, but that's caused a lot of discussion because we have a global ban on cloning humans because we find it very inhumane, yet we've cloned sheep and dogs and cats.
Yeah.
And so we don't know, like, where do the Neanderthals lie? Are they more of a human? Are they more of an animal? Would it be wrong to clone Neanderthal? Because it's very possible we would just clone them and then a surrogate mother would give birth to it, or him or her. And so the question is, would it be wrong, A, for Neanderthal to grow up in our society today? B, would they be some sort of zoo expedition? C, would we use them as a science experiment to see, like, what they are, what they're like animals? And D, how many Neanderthals are we willing to try to clone with failures involved before we say, okay, we're done? There have been too many failures, too many sad stories with these Neanderthals.
Okay, the way I'm basing my opinion on this Neanderthal cloning is basically putting myself in the shoes of the first Neanderthal to be cloned. So in my mind, I envision a small caveman-like boy. And
actually be bigger.
So I guess he'd grow up with the scientists or whatever speaking their language. So say he's an American caveman boy. Now, he'd probably find
Just to verify, they're generally found throughout Europe and northern Middle East and parts of Asia.
Yeah, well, that was back then, but if we clone them, who knows? Maybe we have cavemen or Neanderthals in every single continent. But I feel like if this Neanderthal found out that he was not from this time and that he was actually cloned, that, I don't know, I'd feel very uncomfortable and I'd feel like singled out from society. Because, I mean, I've read this book on about the clone in the future. It's a fictional story, but he felt like a monster, more like an animal rather than a human. So I think, though it would be interesting to see a thing from the past and using our modern technology to clone them, I think it is still wrong and unethical because I'm feeling sympathy for this Neanderthal boy that is, in my mind, the first Neanderthal to be cloned.
Here's my question, though. Like, you can't put yourself in the head of a monkey. You can't agree that they can think as much as we do. So where does a Neanderthal lie? Would it be able to, would it be able to speak with us, or would it have to grunt, or would it be able to would it be even able to eat the same food we have? Because we have evolved in such a way to this point where, because our food is so much cleaner and we cook our food, that certain organs like the appendix are no longer needed. And so the question is how similar are they to us? Because that is where the line is drawn. That is, are they too human? Would they be almost like a human, just look a little bit different? And that brings into question race and like how do we view them on a scale, morality, or are they more of an animal, or do we put him or her in a cage and study her and him, and they don't know what we're doing, and they think this is normal, and they just have the mind of an animal. We have no clue, and that's the problem, is that we don't want to take the risk.
I am thinking that I would classify a cloned Neanderthal in today's society as more advanced than an animal, but not not enough to consider them a human. I don't know. Maybe that sounds really wrong, calling them not humans. But, I don't know. I think that still I would not want to be the first Neanderthal cloning. But then again, I have to think, okay, sure, I'm putting myself in the shoes of the first Neanderthal, but say, I don't know, Neanderthal cloning becomes so I don't want to call it popular, but like so normal that I know, hey, I might have a Neanderthal best friend, like half my class, as if it's his own race, is Neanderthal kids, and we have all Neanderthal schools, where it just becomes a whole nother race, and you say you come from Neanderthal heritage.
See, but here's the question, though. Would we let it get to that point? Because, there's problems with exotic species of animals or plants brought to another area of the world. Certain plants become, are normal in Asia and are like any other plant we have here, like the oak tree. But as soon as they're brought over to North America, they thrive and destroy everything in their path. That would bring a whole new question. Not bring people from location to location, but bring things from time, like from one area of the time to the next, where it's just completely different animals that it would now be living with.
Yeah. So I think that it's up to today's society and what you guys think is acceptable and what is not.
Yeah, we'd love to hear what you have to say.
So email us, and if you're listening to this on iTunes or Podomatic, listen to this. Send us an email at muddytech@gmail.com, or if you're watching this on YouTube, comment in the comment section below. And without further ado, if you would like to present us with a future topic, or rather me with a future topic, email us at muddytech@gmail.com, or if you would like to be a future guest, please simply state your name and why you think you'd be good to be on my podcast. And the way I'd like to finish off these shows is with a type of riddle called Hink Pinks, which my brother introduced to me actually today. And what Hink Pinks are riddles where it's, I don't know, maybe you can explain it better.
So Hink Pinks are a phrase. Usually they make sense, the phrases, but they're very they're very out there and abstract. And so, for instance, here, a giant cat with wings. So what's a giant cat would be the first or second word, and with wings would help describe this giant cat. So the answer to that one would be a flying lion. You could use some slang, but they have to rhyme, hence the name Hink Pinks.
Because, yeah, Hink rhymes with pink. So all the answers to the riddles
Thank you, Johann. You're
all
very,
rhyme.
Very smart. Glad that we have you here. Anyways,
Respect
so
your
here are 5
host.
Hink Pinks, and first person that emails the answer, we will recognize on the show next week. So the first one is the final group of actors. Second one is a canine talking about his life on the internet. Third one is a disease.
A deceased.
A deceased food of grain. Fourth one is a cool film. And fifth one, final one, is to use your tongue in the toilet. So if you have the answers, just email it to
muddytech@gmail.com. These questions will be in the description of the video if you're watching this on YouTube, or in the description of the podcast if you're listening to this on iTunes. So without further ado, thank you for listening to the first ever episode of the Neon Mudslide. Hope to see you next week, and goodbye.